Good afternoon and welcome everyone to the Community Services meeting for the 24th of November. Just looking at the agenda will be as was issued. There is an apology for Councillor Fulton for lateness. Can I move that the apology is accepted? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Matheson, second. All those in favour, aye. Against, carried. Am I the only one voting here? We are live streaming, so I just want to remind you when you are speaking to put your microphone on so that people can hear those people that might be listening. I was one of the listeners this morning, so there could be others listening. There is one public forum, and that is as noted on the agenda, and that's Lee Bevan, and she's going to be speaking about general maintenance of council community housing, and we'll ask you to come forward in a moment. I just want to confirm that the order of business is as noted. I'm asking if there are any interests. No interest. If there are any that arise as we go through, please just note those as we go. I'm going to ask Lee to come up. Hello, Lee. Welcome to the meeting. Someone will check that the microphone is on for you.
Thank you.
And you're ready to go?
Thank you. Yes, I am. So I'm speaking actually on behalf of the 18 tenants in the Nayland Road complex, but I presume that the information that I'm giving covers most complexes in Nelson. The reason we're here is to bring council's attention to the difficulties that are occurring in the management and the maintenance of the units. So we often, when we call Opus, who is the agent, or the council repairs, we're often met with there is no money in the budget, or things just don't happen, nothing gets done. So some of us just give up, they just put up with substandard housing because it's too hard, it's just really too hard. So if the budget is the problem, the real problem, then perhaps we can help. We've lived a long time and we noticed a few things and we do have some suggestions. And we do live on site 24/7. So when we have people like Opus or council visit and make decisions, they don't live with those decisions or with the reasons behind them. It's a much clearer picture when you live there. So we've come up with two ideas for cost saving. The first one we feel is really easy, and that's to cut back the time and money spent on ground maintenance. Really regular lawn mowing and the occasional pruning of trees is all that's necessary until all the units are repaired properly. Most of us look after our own grounds, and we do have a real concern about the amount of spray that Nelmac is using. So that seems a pretty simple one, just cut it back, really easy. Put that money, please, what we would like to see is any savings go into the Nayland Road account. I presume that you just have one budget for all the units. So it would be nice if it could be divided. The second one is the most difficult one to talk about, but it's the Opus's management contract. What we see looking at what's happening with the Opus agents is that they don't have the life skills or the experience to work with the elderly. They're rude, they're impatient, and they're intimidating. There is I've forgotten the word of it. There was a survey in that information that you've got that took me a good week to go around all 18 people. And for some of them, especially one lady who's having ongoing strokes, it took 3 visits to her to find out that her wardrobe doors weren't fitting and that they kept falling off. So the present agents just whip through with a camera, taking photos, don't talk to us hardly at all, and they can't possibly have any idea of what's happening. So the other thing that happens that is really hard to watch is that jobs are being attempted by people without the qualifications over and over and over. Like one instance is that number 14 had a leak in its ceiling for at least 7 years, and it has only just been remedied by a qualified tradesman. I don't know how much money has been spent by so many visits by handymen to fix the problem when they couldn't find what the problem was. The tradesman came and immediately found the problem after 7 years and fixed it. So there is so much money being wasted in that area. Our biggest concern, don't stone me if I say this, but our biggest concern is that Opus is an international company. Why are we sending Nelson money, not just out of Nelson, but out of New Zealand? We need to support Nelsonians, and that's really what we would like to see. So here's a suggestion that you may also throw back at me. I believe that your council has already on its staff 251 people. Surely one or two of them who have the suitable skills could visit each tenant, find out what their difficulties are, send work orders to NELMAC, who could contract out where appropriate. Council staff could manage calls through an independent line. Keep on board the present handyman, who is familiar with the units and with the tenants, and works really well within his capabilities. We also feel very comfortable with him, and we trust him in our homes. With the above savings, the housing budget could be increased, and Jock Edmondson, who is the person we deal with in the council, could get on with the outstanding issues and hopefully give us warm, dry, safe, healthy homes. Just as an example, some of the repairs, the long-standing repairs, are actually health and safety issues. There's water pooling at the front doorsteps of units 1 and 3. There's uneven ground behind number 15, and most bedrooms have mould in them. So these are things that need to be looked at fairly seriously and really quickly. There are 18 units in Nayland Road. 20 years ago, 14 of them were upgraded. That information is in your handout. So the 4 that are left have got old joinery, which is really, really drafty. And all we're asking for is that those units have new joinery. I was told by an expert that there's no point in me having my dehumidifier on because it's just sucking cold air in through the draft spots. The last thing is we would be happy to work with council, especially in the research of heating. We don't have appropriate heating at the moment. And the other thing we would like to contribute to is a comprehensive housing policy to replace the present limited one. All we are really asking for is warm, dry, safe, healthy homes. Thank you.
Thank you. You made it. Awesome. Are you happy to take some questions?
I am. Yes.
Lovely. Councillor Matheson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Paul.
Good. When I came to see you a year or so ago, when we sat and had a talk, you were talking then, or we talked together about the possibility of having a little group of residents in a sort of a committee that we could deal with. Has that happened?
It hasn't happened. There were possibly 3 of us who were kind of working together and have worked on this up front. So it probably is in the process of happening.
The reason that we did, obviously, because we felt if you had a little committee, then you had a strong voice.
That's right.
for the community of those houses. Okay, I just wondered whether you want to address it and accelerate it, because it makes it easier for us to deal with the collective rather than individuals, that's all.
Oh, yes, yes. I mean, I think we would put... Your difficulty you're running into there is that there are a few residents who are too ill, and you have a group who are fed up and don't want to know. So 3 of us, or 4 of us, or maybe 5 or 6, are really willing to work together.
Great, that'll be good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Laurie.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation and the details, the notes to take home. Just a general question, really. You've highlighted some of the concerns you've got, but how would you describe living in these community houses generally?
I love it.
You love it?
I don't want to leave, but I want it to be safe. So we're putting up. But really, it's a lovely community. We're really fortunate that we have really nice tenants. Mostly we all get along. We don't have any really undesirables there, so it's a lovely, I just wish it was more comfortable.
Yeah. And through the chair, if it's okay, do most of the other residents share that view of the place, do you think?
Yeah, and they all love to live there, yes, because they all chose to live there. They all, saw the units and chose that would be their place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Rutledge, and then we'll finish with Councillor Courtney.
Thank you for coming and speaking to us, Lee. I noted in the survey that the lowest score was given as to how comfortable you feel communicating with council staff, but it seems to be that that's the preferred way forward would be to deal directly with council as opposed to Opus.
Yeah.
Can you perhaps explain why that score is even lower than the Opus one, and how council might need to change to better engage with you?
Right. I believe that comes from the fact that if we go to council with a problem, we're referred back to Opus all the time, and it's like, hang on, council won't listen to us. We want to talk to them. They're in charge. Opus are just doing what they think is right. But if we don't get satisfaction with Opus, and we try council and we get told to go back to Opus, then that's where council becomes the bad guy, if you like. I think that's that one.
And Councillor Courtney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, Lee.
Hi.
Did you realise we were looking at your lovely home yesterday?
You were?
Councillor Noonan and myself.
Were you really?
We're at 3 o'clock, yes, we were admiring you keep it beautifully.
Thank
We
you.
said that, didn't we? Yes, we did. We admired your pots.
Thank you.
In fact, Councillor Noonan whispered to me, what did you say? Greater Rutland, she's got a fair number of, she loves her pots. Lee loves her pots.
I do.
And I whispered back, I think she's crazy about her pots. How many do you have? Do you have about a dozen or 13?
I don't count.
Have we got a point coming, Mr.
We have, yes. I'm
I have. I need to
yes,
share.
that was the question. How many pots do you have?
I need to share with you, and this might be a bit emotional. Most of those pots, the nice ones, are my daughter's, and it was my daughter and I who went to see the mayor 2 years ago to get these resolutions here. She managed to get the stormwater, or half the stormwater done. But that's the story of the pots.
Thank you. I've got some good news. We've got a new chairperson in charge of the Community Services Committee.
Yes.
She is working tirelessly to bring about a change hopefully in the management
Great.
of the 142 units that we care for.
Councillor Courtney.
I'm going to just tell her that we're going to fix, you can be assured.
Councillor
Were
Courtney.
you aware of that? Were you aware that we have 142
Councillor
units?
Courtney,
Yes.
we are doing questions only at this
Yes,
point.
I know. We're going to attend to your problems very
Councillor
soon.
Courtney, thank you. Lee, thank you for coming in, and I just wanted you to know that I've asked the officers to go through the list with the
Yes.
contractors, make sure that they are addressed in a timely manner. As you've probably seen the agenda today, we've got the contract being looked at. It hasn't been prepared as yet, and we're hoping for it to go up to council. If the committee approve that today, it'll be coming up before Christmas regarding the contractor. So we're hoping that we'll get a solution for you as soon as we can.
It would be lovely.
And thank you for coming, and thank you for your support.
Thank you very much.
Right, moving on to the status report, pages 6 to 9. And I'll go through from page by page if you have any questions on page number 7. Any questions? Page 8. Councillor Matheson.
Sorry, Madam, I got caught there. I just want to go back to Stoke Community and Sports Facility. Work commences on that.
So we're back on page 7 for
We
everyone
are.
else.
Just to bring you up to date, I was advised that work starts on that on Monday.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So going on to page 8, page 9. Can I have somebody move that we receive that report? Councillor McGurk, seconded by Councillor Courtney. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Moving on to the chairperson's report. I have written a small, you all know me, I don't say a lot, so it's a bit of a stretch to actually say a lot, but I just wanted to set out today how I would like to work with the committee, and I think it's important for me to set out my thoughts so that at the beginning of the triennium you've got some idea how I like to work, particularly amongst the committee and amongst the community. So I'm going to read, I've only got 5 paragraphs and they're all in big font, so it won't take long at all, so bear with me. Today I'd like to set out the way I'd like to work with the committee and our community. I am a delegator and I encourage members to engage in the work of the committee, but I do recognise that this has some challenges and possible overlaps can occur when several members have a shared interest. So in order to have some structure to our interaction with the community, I'm going to ask that members of the committee keep communicating with me so that we can engage together. And that way we won't have an overlap, or we can work with one another in a more efficient way. And if we work with the officers, we will get the best outcome for the community. And I think it's important that individuals don't set an expectation for the community that we may or may not be able to achieve. I've already started working with a meeting with community groups, and I've done that with and without staff, and I've found the beginnings of that very successful. I do intend to meet some other stakeholders and key staff so that I can hear of their plans and their concerns when we bring those through to annual plan time. It is a busy portfolio, and whoever that is has got morning tea, thank you, afternoon tea, whatever it is. It is a busy portfolio, so if you see that there's a gap that we haven't filled, I'd be very interested to hear from you and how you would like to work in that area. And on that, I would like to move the receipt of my report. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Rutledge. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. On to item 7, the Community Housing Management Contract. Mr Ward, I think. Who's presenting?
Ms. McDonald.
Ms McDonald. Please come to the table.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could introduce Jane Luffman from my team, who's the policy coordinator who wrote this paper, so she'll introduce it.
Welcome, Jane.
So this paper is seeking the Community Services Committee to defer the decision around the community management contract, housing contract, to Council on the 15th of December. We're asking the committee to refer this decision to Council on the 15th of December for the management contract of community housing.
I knew I'd forget that. Thank you, Jane. I think that's pretty obvious what we want to do here. Are there any questions on the reasoning behind that? Councillor Matheson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, I get an idea why you're doing it. I had a look at the budget. You've got 103,000 set down for renewals and community housing in the next 12 months. If you looked at the list that was supplied this morning, that would fix 1 unit. Are you going to be seeking in the annual plan an increase of capital?
Yes, through the Chair, if I could speak to that. That is an issue that officers would like to flag with Council as something that needs work. The community housing portfolio as a whole and how we manage that in future. That's something we think that probably the long-term plan will need to address, so we'll be bringing back material for you to make some decisions on.
Can I just follow that up with what appears to be coming out of this report from Lee this morning? Was there a definite need to do something about insulation and heating? Have we been working with the tenants with regard to our program on warmer, safer homes?
So through the chair, if I'm, there is a current investigation of heating options for those units that's being undertaken by our contractor to our staff. So we are looking at what opportunities there are to bring in, to refresh the heating across all of those units.
Okay, and if I can just finally have a request, can we have some of these details acknowledged when we meet on the December the 15th? To the answers to some of those questions about where you intend to go?
Yes.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I'm just looking at this report, and I am concerned that we're looking at a report that was, or a process that was resolved. It was resolved in October 2015. That council moved forward on addressing this issue of the management contract, and at that time we were concerned about exactly the issues, many of the issues that were raised today in public forum around tenant welfare. That was one of our considerations, and so we wished to move forward and make tenant welfare part of the process. I'm concerned, and I just need to know from the officers, firstly, when did the current contract expire? Because I see it's been rolled over on a month-by-month basis. So when did it expire? Through the chair, it expired in December 2015, and it has been on a rolling basis renewed since that time. So thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, and as that was pretty much where I thought it might have been, because I remember this paper coming up, and I'm hoping it wasn't a late paper, but I've got this sense, I had this sense of urgency at the time, that when we received it, it was because we knew that actually the contract was going to expire. Now, I'd have to say I am concerned that it's taken this long for this matter to come back to us, given we already knew that we had some issues there that as a council we were not that comfortable with, and we wanted greater tenant welfare. In the interim, we've had what appear to be ongoing issues, and I would certainly say on a number of occasions the matters have been escalated on individual items, the stormwater matter being one, to my office, rent issues, other things that I've had to address. So why the delay? Why did it take so long? Yes, through the chair, it has certainly taken longer than we would have wished. To absolutely acknowledge that. There's been a range of factors in that. One is the work that we're doing on improving our contracting process around council, which has had to feed into this, and we wanted to make sure this was a very robust process. It has turned out to be far more complex than initially thought once we included the tenant welfare aspects, but I would have to say resourcing was also a factor, and that the team that run community housing run a lot of other facilities for council, and it has been difficult for them to, in prioritising work, to get to this. So there's been a range of factors, but some of that complexity we will be discussing when we come back to you on the 15th, and that's why we are coming back for some more governance input.
Councillor Rutledge.
So on that subject of priorities, does that mean that the tenant welfare is considered a low priority at the moment?
Through the chair, the matters that were raised this morning are matters that should be covered under the current contract. The tenant welfare aspects we were looking at are generally things that weren't mentioned this morning but would be in addition to the current contract. So it's a concern if the current contract is not delivering the service level that we expect to the tenants now.
Okay. And a follow-up question then, has there been any penalties on the provider of that contract if they're not meeting our expectations?
Through the chair, these are new issues that have been brought to the committee today. We would have to go away, have a look at those and discuss with the contractor how these things have happened. So because they're new, I can't comment on where there might have been a problem.
Mr Ward's going to comment.
So through the chair, I guess we are in the middle of a tender process at the moment, I would remind the committee, so it's probably not too helpful to go into contractual matters from the previous, because we wouldn't want that to colour the process that we're actually in the middle of at the moment.
Councillor McGurk, if it's not related to the contract, you may ask a question.
Definitely not related to the contract. I'm just wondering, the report that you're proposing to bring back to full council on the 15th of December, much broader, I suspect, than just the matter of the contract. Are you looking at our status as a provider of community housing in Nelson? Is that an aspect that will be part of that report?
Through the Chair, the report that we propose to bring in December is solely related to the awarding of the management contract. Those broader issues which are also on the table would be the subject of a longer run process, I believe, through the long-term plan.
I think we have all the questions. Can I have somebody move that we make this recommendation to Council? Thank you, Councillor McGurk, seconded by the Mayor. All those in favour? Oh, do you want to debate it? You don't want to debate it, do you? Does anybody wish to debate it? Yes, Madam Mayor.
I wish to speak to this. I'm happy for it to move up to council, but I'd actually like to make a request, and this is somewhat general, but I'll do it off the back of this report. I was just traversing on very quickly to try and go through some previous community services agendas to see whether this item had appeared on the status report, and I've pulled a couple up and I can't see it there. That may just be that I haven't got the right ones there. But this was a resolution of, and it may be on the council one, maybe where I've got to go and find it, so it may be my error in this. But what I'd like us all to do is to think very carefully when we're resolving matters about whether they need to be time bound, so that we actually do, if there is a problem for the officers in delivering to the times, they will come back and tell us and we can address that. Because I am concerned that this period of time has gone on with a contract that had essentially been rolled over on a monthly basis. So what I would request both of you as chair is that when we're looking through all of the chairs, myself included, that we make sure that our resolutions have got consideration of timeliness involved in them.
Thank you. I think that's a very good suggestion. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just want to have a couple of comments. First of all, I think we should be seriously looking at some form of status report, and this will bring back these issues to us on a regular basis, and they won't get lost in the system. Over 12 months is a long time to be without a permanent contract, and I think that's not the best. I would like to suggest that especially the new councillors, actually take a bit of a walk around some of our units, and maybe it can be arranged that they, at the invitation of the tenants, that they have a look at Nayland Road. They are old. I've been up there a couple of times, and they are in need of some servicing, and I don't think the budget set aside is going to meet those health and safety and tenant comforts calls at all. So I think the officers need to look at coming to the AP for additional funding, but it wouldn't hurt to go and have a look for yourself, so you actually see on the ground what condition they're in, and I'm sure Lee will make you feel very welcome indeed, as she did with me. So yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor McGurk.
Yeah, thank you. I was happy to second this for the simple reason is that this matter has been allowed to drift, I think, for far too long. I think we probably have dropped the ball, taken our eye off the ball on this particular issue. I think council does have a role in the community as being the role model of rental housing and community housing and social housing. So we need to up the ante there. I think the issues that's been highlighted in Nayland Road, and like most around the table, we're probably reasonably familiar with the issues in Nayland Road, but they're the same issues across all our housing, community housing. So picking up what the Deputy Mayor has said is that I think the allocation of funding is an issue that we probably need to address rather urgently, probably even the annual plan, but certainly in the long-term plan is a matter that needs to bring forward. So I'm happy to bring, we're going to have a busy day on the 15th of December, the council meeting. I think we need to pack our sleeping bags and start early.
Thank you, Councillor McGurk. Did you wish to speak, Councillor Courtney?
I just wanted to say through you that we've been out and about yesterday, taking up the Mayor's suggestion that we should, as chairs and deputies, be out and about and knowing our portfolios, and we spent a very pleasant afternoon yesterday afternoon visiting Nayland Road and Stoke Retirement Village and issues there. So I just want to assure the committee that we are taking our job seriously, and we're on the ground, and we're up and at it, and we're running.
Thank you, and Councillor Barker, and then Councillor Rutledge, and I think then we should wrap this one up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just, through you, ask the staff if they can ensure that what comes up on the 15th of December has the financials, income and expenditure on our housing units. We're concerned about the need for the money to maintain maintenance. I would hope that our income and expenditure will be available to us to see what the surplus is.
Mr. Ward will respond to that.
We can do that, although the substantive matters that are contained in that report will not relate to any capital or maintenance expenditure. It's purely about the awarding of the contract for the maintenance.
Councillor Rutledge.
I'd echo Councillor Barker's sentiment that would be useful for a new councillor particularly. I'm a little concerned that the advice we got from officers is all these issues that are listed here are new issues. You look down the list and then you hear some of the history and it doesn't really sound like they're new issues. And then there's talk about frustrations of these being raised with counselling and being told to go to Opus and back again. Mr. Ward, is it indeed that this is the first time that council staff have been made aware of any of these things?
So through the chair, I'm not sure who said that it was the first time. Certainly wasn't. I have asked staff to go through the list. Some of those are issues which are historic in nature, but we believe they have been addressed. So it may be that there has been some work done. Some of those issues that have been raised have not been reported through our contractor, so those are the first times, even if they have been issues which appear to have been around for some time. They've just not been reported up. And there's some of them that have been addressed already, so there's a range in there.
Thank you. Look, I would like to keep an eye on this one. If some of those are new issues, I'll ask the staff to keep me updated as to where we are between now and the 15th. Make sure that our tenants are particularly safe and sound. They need to feel safe and they need to be warm and dry. So that's a priority for me, and I'm hearing around the table that you all feel pretty much the same way. So I'm sure we'll talk some more on the 15th, and in the meantime I'd like to, it's been moved and seconded, I'd like to put it. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. We're now going to receive number 8. We're going to receive the Community Investment Panel funding minutes, and this is just a receipt of those. Does somebody want to move? You'll move. Councillor Laurie moving. Seconding. Brian McGurk. Any discussion? I'd like to put that. I'm not going to put it right now. Councillor Laurie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question. The way it's presented, we are informed of how much money has been given, is going to be funded to different groups, but if we take, for example, 5.6 Q Youth Incorporated, we read that the application's been declined, and I'm just wondering why we don't know how much they wanted. I'll just be curious.
Mr. Ward.
This is a record of the Community Investment Panel's meeting. That information is provided in the papers for that meeting, and as I understand it, all papers for those are available to the councillors. So this is the record of the meeting.
So if you just go back to the agenda, you'll find those. Ready to move? All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. I think we're now due to go into public excluded. I need someone to move that. Councillor Rutledge. Sorry, I didn't catch. Who moved? Deputy Mayor, and seconded by Councillor Rutledge. All those agree? Aye. Do we have to vote on it?
Yes.
We do. All those in favour of moving into public excluded? Aye. Against? Carried. We're now in public.